Hello, and welcome for this new release of Xen Orchestra. This time it's all about 5.113, and this one is kind of special. It's just the day after Thanksgiving, but it's not the reason. The reason is that's the end of the line for the 5.x release, as the next one will be XO6.0. So this one is exciting for this reason, but also many other reasons we'll discuss about the announcements we want to make, for this release. So let's take a deep dive directly into the project and community to talk about that. So the first announcement is about our new partnership with Nexan. So Nexan is a storage vendor doing multiple storage appliances that are providing predictable performance with many protocols supported like NFS, iSCSI, but also S3, which is also interesting as a potential target for backups. So what we did is partner together to validate their solution and making sure they are working with our stack. So if you want to read more about it and the details and what's next and so on, feel free to read the dedicated blog post to see what it opens in terms of the future for Vates and Nexan. The other exciting announcement is with another hardware partner, but this time we are going deeper in the stack as we are working on ARM CPUs, and we announced it, let's say on paper that we start working together in the past, but now we wanted to showcase that our work delivered something, as during the KubeCon US we had a demonstrator running a NARM machine based on Ampere CPU. So it was a system 76 hardware running with XCPNG installed on it, and the ability to see some VMs running and so on, the ability to connect Xen Orchestra to it. So obviously it's only a demonstrator, it's not production ready, but it was showcasing that it is possible to run Xen and even XCPNG on ARM. So there's a lot to do, but still, again, that's a great first milestone demonstrating that our roadmap is not just only about x86, but it's also other CPU architecture. As you may know, we are also porting Xen to RISC-V, but there's no, let's say, production grade or production ready server slash data center CPUs as there is for ARM now, especially with Ampere leading the charge on those CPUs. So we're pretty proud of that. The story to make it available as a demonstrator is pretty funny. So if you want to have a look and read on the blog post, the dedicated blog post about it, feel free, because you will see it's a funny story with a kind of a emotional roller coaster to get the thing working for the D-Day. So pretty cool, and I'm pretty sure also next year we'll have many discussions and other things to announce regarding ARM and Vates stack. Let's switch about the new Windows PV driver release. So as you knew, we discussed that a few months ago. Now we have signed Windows PV drivers that are available for XCPNG, signed with us and Microsoft. And this month, we also improved those drivers with many fixes, some improvements, and so on. And I think it's important to remember that now Vates is part of the upstream maintainers of the tools who we already found, security issues and so on. So this is another demonstration that having the entire, let's say, responsibility, but knowledge and mastering of the whole stack pays off in the end. It's a lot of work. It took us a lot of time, but in the end, now we are, I would say, completely autonomous to be able to patch and develop those drivers. So feel free to download them and use them. They are again fixing some bugs and so on. So a lot of progress on that front. We're really happy with that. The next announcement is Xen Orchestra related, but more like not as a feature, but more as what would be an interesting strategy for your backups for your company. So choosing the right backup strategy might be not trivial, because you need to really understand what Xen Orchestra is able to do, what do you need, and so on. So we took time to write it down and explain all the features, how they can protect your company and your data to make sure that you will never lose anything because you're protected by Xen Orchestra. So it's more like a functional description on how you could use all the Xen Orchestra features and backups to make something that could help to save your company if you have I don't know a ransomware or whatnot. So this is a really handy guide. Then we'll talk about the release of the new Xen version. So Xen again is the core hypervisor, the kind of engine of XCPNG, the virtualization platform. We are contributing more and more to Xen. The release manager is working at Vates. The community manager was introduced by Vates within the Xen project. We're organizing events within the Xen project to assist the project. So this is another demonstration of our commitment to the upstream hypervisor, as we're not just users, but again, mastering the entire stack. And we're proud of this new release that will be used in the future for future version of XCPNG. Regarding XO6, so as I started to talk about it, it's coming. It will be the default UI for next month. So at the end of December, on the latest channel, you will use XO6 by default. So don't panic. If you don't want to do that, you can stay on stable. And at worst, stable will be merged or changed with XO6 by default at the end of January. Might be later, so it's not decided yet. So right now, if you do the update on latest, you will see a link within your Xen Orchestra 5 to test XO6. Not everything is there, but you will see that in just 1 month, we made many, many, many improvements. So it's up to you, and even later in stable when it will be merged. If you still want to use XO5 by default, you could make a configuration modification to stay on XO5. So no need to stress. You could, XO5 won't disappear tomorrow. It will be there for, let's say, sometime, hopefully not so long, but we'll make sure that we will not replace anything in XO5 that is not available one way or another in XO6. So it's just that having this milestone and giving it to more users means we could even go faster because we'll have your feedback. We have a dedicated thread on our forums for all that feedback. It's a pin thread in the Xen Orchestra category, so it's easy to find. So any bug, any feature requests, go ahead. We'll make our best. So in the end, you don't need XO5 anymore for in 2026. Regarding the events, so we'll be to one of the last events of the year, API Days in France. We've been at the KubeCon a few weeks ago, so it went very well. With, as I said, also had the opportunity to meet in person all the Ampere guys who had a booth near our own booth. So that was really cool, and we made the demonstrator with the XCPNG running on System 76 platform. Pretty cool demonstrator. We've been to Luxembourg Internet Days. So that's it for the events, and that's it for the community announcement. Now we will, dig within the exact Xen Orchestra release itself. And again, the last of the 5.x saga, we could say, because frankly, when we started XO 5.0, we never thought it will, work that long. It will be strong enough, solid enough to stay for 10 years, almost 10 years, 7 months close to be 10 years. So, thanks XO5 for all the fish, but it's time to move forward. So let's now examine all the features we managed to do for this XO release. So we start now with security. As usual, as we do every month, we patch some dependencies that are on NPM. You may know that NPM might be subject to many supply chain attacks, so we are really, searching or analyzing all the dependencies to make sure that we could find any problems and make updates very often on that. So that's the perk of making monthly releases, because this means we could update all the dependencies very, very fast. We also publish now Vates security advisories. There's one that was affecting previous Xen Orchestra versions. So if you want to read the details, it's now fixed if you're unstable already. So no need to panic. But we wanted to make sure you have a trace on all the security alerts that you might have with Xen Orchestra and even the entire stack. So this one is shared, but it's fixed already. Getting back up this month was rather calm, mostly small fixes or less smaller fixes. Let's call it like that. We improved the long-term retention algorithm, which was not doing things exactly in the right order, so it's now fixed. Now we'll directly switch to the UI because that's probably the biggest stuff we have in this release is the core UI or the next change for the next UI that will be the XO6 and XO Lite UI. So as we discussed, the switch is happening next month on latest. And to just show you how fast we are doing every month, so we are doing a lot of work to make the new interface uh, a lot better than previously because, for example, we added many side panels on many information. That's the before and that's the after. As you can see, the information density is a lot better. That's the one with the dark theme, so it's easier to read if you prefer dark themes also, so more packed with many details and so on. Under the hood, there's a lot of improvement also to share some definitions between XO6 and XO Lite. So as you know, we always wanted to make sure any new component is compatible between both. This is the case entirely now, even on some, subtle things. So it's a really hard work that is not really visible, but again, it means at some point we accelerate. And I think this release is really the demonstration, all the hard work that took time before is finally paying off as we are releasing many, many new screens and features and so on. So now, if you have, for example, some view that is in XO6 not able to create a network right now, for example, you have a link that will send you directly to XO5 to be able to do so. So even if you adopt XO6, you have the missing features available still in XO5 and near where you need it. So it doesn't mean you have to load XO5, go there. You can just use XO6. Oh, I don't have this. Then I just click on the link, create the network, and go back on on the new UI. So it's really handy, and our goal is to make sure that we won't release something with everything, but we'll make sure it's painless as possible. Because again, more people will use it faster. We'll make sure to get all those features in priority. Also, another big change is now the UI is updated in real time. This is the case in XO5, right? But we needed to modify the REST API to make sure that every time there is an event, it's visible in the REST API, which is the new API, which is also used by XO6. So a lot of work. We'll talk about that in the REST API, but now XO6 is doing updates in real time with the events coming from the REST API. Obviously, other views are largely improved with all the detail or even created, like the VDI for a VM. Now you can see the use space and so on, having all the details you can have for a VM. So we are getting closer to get all the tabs being active and showing information on your objects. It's the same story for improving existing views and making them more efficient. So, for example, you could see for tool all the VMs directly there. So you keep, the right menu, the left menu, sorry. But you can have in the VMs also see those VMs with more details like the UID, the description, and so on. Select the number of objects, and so on and so on. So it's very powerful, and it also helps you to see a lot more information also regarding your hosts with VM in your host and having a side panel to get all the information. So no need to switch many views. With just one, you can get all the information you want. We are also improving the site level view, which is the top level, if you like. If you click on the top node of the tree, the root node of the tree, if you like, this will group all the information within all your data centers, all your clusters, whatnot, where Xen Orchestra is connected to everything. So this means there you have a powerful search engine that could search in your entire infrastructure. And when you click, you will have a right panel, sorry, with all the details about the object where you're clicking on. This time for the VM, but it's the same for the hosts. So that's very powerful and gives you, again, less clicks to get all the information you need without entering a host view or a VM view, because you have the side panel that is displaying everything, like the missing patches and so on and so on. We also have finally a settings page. We had it in Exolite a few months ago, but not in XO6. That's the case now. You can toggle, the different modes: dark mode, light mode, or auto, with the link with the documentation, the language change. You can contribute with the translation tool. You have a link to go there, so it helps also to contribute to the translation. So yeah, now the settings page is now here and giving you all the things you need to change those settings. We also improved a lot the backups view. So as I said, it's a lot of stuff for XO6. Now the backup modes are more readable, are more clear, because before you had many different things. Now it's easier to read. You have extra modes and so on. And if you click on it, those modes will also appear in the panels. You have the last 3 runs, are they working or not, and so on. So this view is, right now already able to help you to monitor all your backups with Xen Orchestra, which is pretty cool. The VM creation stuff is working, but not all the features are there. So if you need cloud inits, VTPM, and so on, you have a link to XO5 to do it. But in the meantime, we are already adding more features, like if you can choose BIOS, UEFI, and so on. Wasn't there before, it is this time. So again, that shows in only 1 month all the things now we are catching up with the XO5 release, as all the foundations are already laid out. It took time to do that properly, but now it delivers. So that's why it's pretty cool. Same for the storage in the host's storage view. So you have all the details with all your storage, shared, local, usage, free space, and so on and so on. So it's very, very handy. Same for a pool and storage for all the pool and so on. And that's as you can see, a big chunk of all the new features. So we'll have even more for December and even more for January. So this means 2 months full of updates. That's when it will land in stable. If it lands in stable in January, we will have many things that will be already there. And again, you could switch back to XO5 if you want. Let's talk a bit about the VMware to Vates conversion tool we have. 2 important improvements we made. We had a kind of a bug due to non-aligned 2 megabyte boundaries for some disks, that's having a weird symptom of being stuck at some point. We fixed that. It was a bit tricky, but we found the root cause and we managed to solve it. So it means the success rate right now within the migration is even higher than before. So I think we are around 90%, something like that. When we started to get the tool 2 years ago, it was like 10% or 20% of success to migrate. Now we are going, slowly, because it's harder and harder, but closer to the 100% success rate. That's our target, obviously. And now warm migration is even supported on ESX6, which was kind of buggy before. Now it works pretty well. So even if you are not a latest version of ESXi, then the warm migration is also working as it works for the latest versions. We also added a pretty cool feature. I kind of thought in the past that we already had it, because to me it was like logical, but in fact we weren't. We've been asked, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, to have an entire affinity for the load balancer, to make sure that if you have 2 database VMs with replication, for example, DB1, DB2, making sure those VMs are not on the same physical hosts. So that's the entire affinity. So in case you lose a host, then you won't lose the entire database. That makes sense. So we did that first, but then you might want, for other reasons, like maybe avoid going for the network, or staying on the same host, to have affinity between VMs and hosts. So that's what you can do now with the load balancer. Just make sure that even if the load balancer will try to do its best to avoid migration loop, to mix the both of it, you can. I mean, you want to have some affinity rules for some VMs and anti-affinity for other VMs, but stay careful to make sure you're not telling the same VM to do both, because that would be kind of an anti-pattern. So, just review twice your configuration, but the tool is meant to be smart and avoid, infinite loop of migrating VMs. Um, I won't go in very deep for the next paragraph, but in short, we improved our automation process to build our XOAs. In the next weeks/months or releases, we'll have Debian 13 as a base for XOA. Not yet the case, but we are bringing nightly builds of XOA to make sure that if you re-download it, you will have a very recent version. We also improve the access to DC Scope and DC Netscope for accessing that solution by EasyVirt to give you a view of capacity planning, resource usage, network, stream analysis, and so on. Now those buttons are also in the XO6 version of the UI. Regarding the REST API, we improved the VM dashboard endpoint to provide more information. So that's how now the VM view provides many information directly if there is backup jobs and so on and so on. So as you can see, information density is a lot better than XO5. So one dashboard view at glance provides you most of what you need without having to dig within the UI. And also, we have the server-sent events. That is exactly what is needed for XO6 UI to be, updated in real time. So we use that, let's say, capacity to get that. So there's a how to use it for whatever external program you use. It's if you want to, I don't know, connect it to whatever monitoring and so on, you can use those events to watch what's going on, while XO6 is also consuming that to make the interface fully up to date in real time. Regarding the DevOps tools, we have a new release of Terraform Provider with an update of our Go SDK, and it fixed some behaviors, makes some updates. The workflow is more reliable right now. So feel free to update if you use the provider for infrastructure as code. Packer is also supporting new features that might be handy if you build VMs through Packer. So it's pretty handy. So again, if you want to build your templates or VMs through Packer, feel free to use the latest versions. It will be really, more efficient than the previous ones. And regarding DevOps, we got a preview of the new Kubernetes CSI driver. So if you are using Kubernetes, you probably know what it is. CSI is standard block and file storage system that helps to connect all your containers to storage. And now we made the integration with Xen Orchestra API. So this means you could create VDIs, virtual disks, directly within the XO API on your host to store data from your containers. So it's pretty cool. So we had the CCM before, helping Kubernetes to know where it is inside the environment. Now the CSI could also make volume creation through the CSI. So it's the preview. If you want to test, go ahead. Happy to get some feedback on that. Regarding the documentation, we improve different parts of it. Again, every month we are releasing, improving our existing documentation. This time it's a lot about, the email provider to get notification and so on, how to switch back to Xen Orchestra 5, because when it will be by default, this gives you an opportunity to know how to make it by default again. We want to thanks the community and especially Julien for giving us an improvement of fixing a bug with file restore, backup restore with file level restore. It was a problem linked to LVM. So it's solving this long-standing issue. So it's pretty cool. We had the PR, we reviewed it, and it was, solving actually the issue. So that's great, and we are really glad to have external contribution. So kudos, and if there is anything you want to participate, fix, review, translate, that's the point of doing open source. Talking about translations, 8 languages updated, so it's moving pretty fast. That's the translation on the XO6 side, so we know it will even accelerate. Now we have a pretty good workflow to do that, so it's moving forward pretty fast. And let's go into the Misc section. It's still pretty rich, I would say. We have now the operating system details in usage reports. The reminder, you can receive those reports by email in HTML, but also by CSV if you want to export them to do whatever you need to do. Send it to another software and so on. And now you got the detail on the operating system. It could be really helpful if you want to take a look on outdated operating systems and so on. Another feature is the OIDC group mapping. So, OIDC is logging through an SSO platform, for example, like Keycloak or other identity stuff. Now you could even map the group you have inside this identity platform to make sure it maps within Xen Orchestra. So it worked before with LDAP or Active Directory, but now it works also with your IDC. So it's a pretty cool one. I'm not spending a lot of time explaining it because it's relatively straightforward, but in terms of features, it helps really to improve the SSO integration, the single sign-on integration, to make sure you also have the authorization by groups to use Xen Orchestra without having to make anything manually in Xen Orchestra itself. We also drastically improve the speed and the let's say the uh, interface or the page, or how clean the page is about the performance alerts. Now we reduce the CPU usage of that by an order of magnitude, so it's a lot faster. We've seen that for very big infrastructure, it could tend to put XOA on its knees. Now it's a lot faster and provides nicer look on the data that are displayed in the performance alerts. We also improve the VHD CLI command that might be useful to test your backups if they are working. The VHD chain is working. Before, it worked just on some backup repositories. Now it works on all backup repositories, even those that are encrypted. So if you want to use that for whatever automation process without using the auto backup health check that we have, but if you want to just check it with the command line to make sure there is no corruption on the chain, you could use it even on encrypted backup repository. We also improve the VIF network changes. So VIF, it's the virtual interface for a VM. Before, we destroyed the VM, recreated the VM on the right network, but in fact, the API had a feature called move, which is doing that in a more efficient manner. So we improve the way XO is calling the right call right now to enjoy this. So basically, when we use remove, recreate, it was before move existed in the API, and when it existed, we just simply missed it. So now it's done, and it's even easier to change a virtual interface from a network to another. And finally, we are improving the memory information in usage report plugin. So now, if you have all the usage you had, you can even check how much RAM is used, not just allocated within your VM, which is really handy for getting more information about how much is used. So that's it. That's a lot, and I mean, there's a lot in terms of features and so on. So again, there's some, I would say it's something about presenting for the last time a release that is starting by 5. So next month, I will be there and talking about XO6.0. So I'm kind of eager to do it, but it's also the end of a pretty long, a period of also Vates and Xen Orchestra itself. Also, I think it's I would say a pivot, but in our context where we have a big growth and we are addressing bigger and bigger customers, replacing many VMwares and so on. That's, I think, part of this evolution of the company from like 20, 25 people to more than 100 right now. So it is, I think, part of this evolution. So again, thanks for watching it, and see you next month, just after Christmas, probably around January the 30, 31, when we're not sure yet exactly on the details, but and again, that will be about XO6. So eager to get there. See you there, and until then, get well and see you there. Bye bye.